Crystal Nicole, you are one of the most accomplished writers in the game, Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter. You've written for some of the most iconic artists in the business.
Yeah.
We're talking Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, Rihanna, Chris Brown. I mean, this goes on and on.
Wow. Yeah.
We just keep going.
Crazy, man.
Listen, everybody, tonight we are rocking with the one and only Crystal
Nicole. Yeah.
What up, family?
Crystal, man, you got a single out, Colorblind. Man, that song is really touching.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's like an anthem, really. You know, I think like just for the youth, especially changing a generation and how we really approach race in this country. I just really admire and have a lot of respect for you. And the song is just beautiful. But just getting into this conversation, tell us a little bit about, you know, the single and where that's coming from.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you. That was an amazing lineup you just read. Sometimes I'm still thrown off by the the Wikipedia stats because I'm always, you know, on to the next, trying to climb said ladder. And I think sometimes you got to pause and just read it back and see what, you know, see what God's done. So I appreciate that. As far as Colorblind is concerned, this is a song that I wrote when I had my daughter, and I saw this beautiful little brown baby and I was like, oh, she's perfect. And then immediately this wave of just concern came over me as a mom, as a Black woman and growing up dark-skinned, you know, even in the Black community, there's so many different things that people say to you, you know, and I was always told that I was too dark, or I was too this or not enough that. And I just immediately started to feel for my daughter, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, how can I protect or prevent? I can't really prevent it, but how can I protect it and nurture this so that she won't grow up? It won't take her, you know, 20, 30 years to realize her beauty and her worth. You know what I mean? So I wrote this song from that place of like, you know, the trees ain't out here arguing over their shades of green. Like, this is foolishness.
That's what's up.
And don't let nobody tell you different, you know? So.
Yeah, your writing is just, oh my God. I mean, you're responsible for some major hits. But when you're writing like that, you know, where's that coming from? Do you usually write for the artist, or are you just writing and then they sort of decide, hey, that fits me?
It's a little bit of both. So there are times where I'm just writing what's in me. I'm just getting it out. Writing initially was therapeutic for me because, like I said, I'm from Atlanta. I grew up singing, and I was always told that I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't small enough, I wasn't light enough. My hair wasn't long enough. All these different things I was told that I couldn't be the artist, that I was told that I'd be the most talented person in the room, but they'll always find a prettier, lighter girl to put in front. And I would have to slide to the back. You know what I mean? So
that is amazing.
It's crazy the things people tell you. And then what's crazier is that you take someone's opinion and you make it law. And it becomes fact. Yeah. So then you move around about the cabin in life with these opinionated things that they're not fact, but you treat it like that. So I started writing songs from a place of frustration. Like, I was like, God, why would you give me a gift and put it in the wrong package? Like, well, you're going to give me this voice, but know that I'm not the right package for it because these people telling me that I'm not. So songwriting was just this kind of act of frustration initially. And I just didn't know that God was setting me up to be able to tell my own story. I can't tell the story with just my voice. I have to be able to write it. And so if I had have just gone with the vocal side first, I never would have discovered that I am a storyteller. And then I wouldn't have been able to tell other people's stories. So sometimes I write from within me, what I've dealt with. And then if I'm writing for a specific artist, I go and research people. I look at interviews and stuff that they've done, and because I wanted to feel like this is coming from them as well.
So Only Girl in the World, that's where you're coming from.
Yeah. So like Only Girl in the World was so crazy is I remember being in the studio. They did like a Rihanna songwriting camp, and that's where they'll just like get a handful of writers and producers and put us all in one big studio and just tell us to go, and it'll be for like a week, and you get however many records you can. And I had written, I was given 3 tracks from Stargate. Stargate are some of the biggest producers in the game. They've done everything for everybody. And I kind of just, I had nothing that day. Like everything that was coming out of me was hot garbage. And I was like, I had already tried it on 2 tracks prior. And I was like, you know what? I don't care what happens next. I'm gonna write it, I'm gonna finish it, I'm gonna record it, and I'm gonna go back to the hotel and I'm gonna Netflix and chill. Like I don't even care, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And I started looking at some images and some pictures of Rihanna and started pulling up interviews, and she just had this air of like, I saw this one picture of her like walking away from like a parked car, and she just was walking down this lone street, and it just seemed like she was the only girl in the world. Like it was just real boss-like. And I just
Wow.
remember the first line I said, I want you to love me like I'm a hot ride. And I was pulling from that car image, pulling from her walking down this street. And then just, the idea of I want you to make me feel like I'm the only girl in the world. I did not know it was something special. I literally was like, I'm gonna write this, throw it up in the air. Whoever catches it, it's on you. I'll be back at the hotel. And next thing you know, child, 20 plus countries later, #1.
How did you feel to hear your song being played all over the world?
It's what's so crazy about music and the beauty of that gift in particular. Your music, or I'll say my music, has been in places I can't even pronounce, places
Wow.
I ain't never been. Like I didn't even know it was on the map. Like, oh, that's a country, people live there. Oh, that's what's up.
Wow.
it's, it's
Wow.
it's fascinating to me. Like, and so I may not have physically been there, but there's an extension of me that's been there by way of these iconic, amazing artists that I've been blessed to write for. So I mean, it's the most amazing feeling in the world when you're a little girl, from Decatur, Georgia. You wore Pro Wings to school. Your mama couldn't get you new clothes for the school year. You wrote songs in the booth while you were hungry because you didn't have money to buy lunch while you were recording. All of those different things. It's fascinating to know that something that small can reach so far and wide.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Are you a studio junkie? Are you always in the studio?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I used to be really bad. Like before I was a mom, oh my gosh, I lived in the studio till like 7 a.m. I would go in when the sun was coming down. I'd come out when the sun was going up. I had no sense of time. I was crazy. And that was, that's when I was young. I didn't realize that I could work smarter, not harder. And if I just get up a little earlier and just get to work and quit talking, I could probably do the same. I could do the same amount of work in the same amount of time and actually have time to be a human afterwards.
Wow.
So I've kind of condensed it a little bit now, but I love that creative zone, that
Play as
atmosphere.
well. Are you a musician? Play anything? Any instruments?
I play a little bit of guitar and a little bit of
Wow.
keys, but I don't play enough to play it for people that I like. Like I play it for my enemies.
Right.
Like, it ain't good enough for
Wow.
me.
So when you're writing, like, how do you communicate the music part of it?
I'll just sing it. Like for me, my voice is the instrument. So
Yeah,
normally when
yeah.
people ask me if I play an instrument, I say I play the voice. You know what I mean? And my voice can sing and imitate whatever I need, especially if I'm talking to a real musician. Real musicians can understand
Yes,
that
yes.
dialogue,
So is it lyrics first and then melody, or melody then lyrics?
So everybody got a method. I think for me, it kind of be like out of the box. Like most times it's everything at once. Like I normally hear the lyric and the melody at the same time, along with I can hear what I want the keys to do. I can hear horns. I can normally hear the whole spectrum, and then I have to slow myself down to try to articulate, one or the other. But sometimes it'll just be a word. It'll be like a dope line or something like that. I'm like, man, that's a record. I don't know what it's gonna sound like, but it feels like a song.
Right.
I have to ask you this. How do you know when you have a finished song? How do you
I
know
know.
when a
Oh, that's
song
good.
is finished?
I feel like I know it's finished when I feel like if I'm trying to add to it, it becomes a struggle. Like, I'm not one of them people that's overly, I don't edit a whole lot. Like, I go in the vocal booth, I sing, I come up with whatever. If I feel like I've told a story, because I'm a storyteller. I feel like I'm a narrator, you know. So once the story is told, and then I got to tell the story in like 3 minutes. That's the difficulty. Because writing a book, you can take all the time you want. Writing a movie, you can take all the time you want. But in a song, I have to tell the entire movie, the entire book in like 3 minutes and make you get it. Once I feel like you get it, or the idea is clear, that's when I think it's done. And I don't go back and do all this extra, hey, let me just change the word it to if. That's literally changing a letter.
Yeah.
Not going back in there to change T to F. We're not gonna do
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
I don't mess with it. I let the, you know, sometimes you gotta let the beauty of what is being poured out in that moment, let it be that. And you don't edit life, you know what I'm saying? And for me, music is a soundtrack to life. So I don't do a whole lot of editing. I let that thing come out. As long as it don't suck, my job is done.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Now, before you reached the music executives, did you have a lot of material written?
Yes. I felt like I had songs for days before anybody cared to hear them. You know, they would call me, my manager at the time, he would call me a A-list songwriter without the credits.
Wow.
So yeah, he was always saying that, like, she's an A-list songwriter, she just don't have the credits yet, you know. And because everybody wants the credits, that's how you get in the door, you know, with anything. And so there were a lot of doors that were closed in my face because I just didn't have the credits, but the records were the same level as they are now. You know what I mean? And so it just took a certain person or persons to take a chance. And I ended up signing with Jermaine Dupri and Sony. Well, they're now Sony, it used to be EMI Music. And JD's an incredible songwriter within his own right. And so he just heard past the credits and just was like, oh, okay, this something here.
Wow. Wow.
Man, that's some amazing stuff.
I'm sitting here, I can't believe that they said you didn't have the look, or that's crazy to me.
Well, you know, the blind always got something to say. They don't know where they go. Just blind, just out here talking and don't know what they're talking about.
You got a voice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I'm just surprised as a singer and artist yourself, you just haven't blown up with your own material.
God's timing, yo. Everything is in. You know, there's some things maybe character-wise that still need to be developed because I don't want to be out here going crazy. So I need to stay in the oven and bake as long as I need to bake.
That's what's up.
So that when I get to where I'm supposed to be, because I know it's supposed to be somewhere great, I don't need no crazy falls. I don't need the middle of the cake to cave in because we pulled it out too soon. Let me get all of the character stuff worked out. Let me become whoever I need to become so that when I'm in front of the world, I have something to say, but I also have a level head to say it with. Sobriety.
Wow. That's huge.
Right. But you did do the voice. You did the voice, right?
I did do the voice.
And what was that experience like for you, being on The Voice?
The Voice was crazy because I've never been a competition singer, you know, because my whole job for 20 years has been to empower and inspire and help other singers. So to be on The Voice and be in a position to where you're competing, it was rubbing against me. Because I'm like trying to help folks. I'm like, yo, so your blind audition is tomorrow. Look, hey, try to make sure I heard you through the walls when you was singing and you was practicing, you know, remember this, remember that. So it's just, it was an interesting season for me. I learned a lot about myself. I learned how I sound when I'm extremely nervous and I'm on live national TV. I didn't know how I sound. I didn't know that I had the wherewithal to sound like a dead, dying bird. But I learned that about myself.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, that was unbeknownst to me that I could sound. I remember when I finished my blind audition, I was telling my daughter, I was like, yo, mommy didn't know she could sound like that. Like, I ain't never experienced that before because I've never been on national television singing to that degree. So it was, you know, your insecurities are on a much, they're a lot more tangible.
Yeah.
Your doubts and your fears and your questions about yourself are way more tangible. And so you
Yeah.
have to have more of a anchoring, you know what I'm saying? Because it's crazy out there in them live TV streets.
Who were the judges when you were on there? I'm trying to remember.
So I was on, so the season they're on right now is 25. I was on the one right before right now. So that was I was on the first ever team Reba. Reba McEntire was the coach.
Okay.
John Legend was the coach. Gwen Stefani and Niall Horan. Those were the 4 coaches for my season.
You went with Reba?
I was on the first ever team Reba because that was her first season. So this season that she's on right now is season 2 for her.
What was that like working with her?
Reba's a beast. She's everything you could imagine. She's done everything in every part of entertainment from
Been there for a
movies
long
to
time.
TV.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's still young. She got so much wisdom. Like you could just ask her any questions and she'll be like, yo, let me just give you the real. This is how you should handle this. This is how you should approach this. A lot of wisdom from Reba.
Wow. I got to ask you this. Since you're such a successful songwriter, is there any pressure to be a solo artist? Do you transfer? Is there any pressure to transfer that success over to the solo career?
I think there is a little bit of pressure to make sure my music don't suck. Like it's like, how you gonna write for Mariah and then your stuff sucks? So there's a tiny bit of
I get that.
Yeah, like just in general as a writer, I don't feel the pressure as an artist so much, but I do still feel that songwriting, like, okay, you know better. Like you can't fall back on, oh, I just started. Nah, you've been writing records for 20 plus years. What are they gonna sound like? I think that may be the only pressure that I feel.
And that's serious pressure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Major hit for Rihanna. We expect your stuff to be
oh my God, yeah, right.
On that level.
Yeah. So sometimes it's better to be like, yeah, I ain't never did this before. I'm brand new. Like
yeah.
Wow.
When you approach the song, singing it, do you kind of give the artist sort of that idea of where to go with it as well? Or you just kind of let them, figure it out for themselves?
I think it switches with each artist. Every artist is different. Like Mariah co-writes and is a part of everything that's created for her her entire career. So it's a co-laboring situation with her. Whereas Rihanna, she doesn't necessarily have to be as hands-on in the writing process. But her presence on the record is unmatched. Like Rihanna going Rihanna she'll Rihanna on the alphabet. She's just going Rihanna, and she has a presence, the air that she has on record. So when I'm writing for an artist like that, because I understand her presence, I can kind of go in and record it from that place. I remember when she heard Only Girl in the World, I think when it got to the bridge, she was like, God dang, she sounds just like me.
Wow.
Just because in the demo, I purposefully wanted to make it feel more like her, you know what I'm saying? So I am very particular when it comes to making sure that it's connecting with the artist, both vocally and lyrically.
Wow. And Chris Brown has had some major hits.
Yeah. Oh,
Chris too. And he's a writer. He's a great writer,
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So what was that a lot of for you? I would say nervousness writing for him.
Well, see, so with Chris, I didn't know that Chris was going to be the one to sing it. So I didn't have So I wrote the song and didn't know where it would go. That's one of those records where I just kind of was writing, so I'm trying to think who I may have written for now. I remember being absolutely terrified working with Beyonce and working with Mary J. Blige.
Really?
Those two in particular, I was like, because Mary the Queen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and she was sitting right next to me, and I'm like sweating bullets, and I'm like, I wonder, can she hear me sweating?
and Mary, is it audible? Mary will tell you straight up.
Yeah. So in particular, the week that I worked with Mary, she had other writers coming in that week, and none of it worked out. Like they told me, my manager told me before I got in the room, he was like, just letting you know, no pressure. But you know, basically, in other words, they done kicked out several writers this week alone.
Yeah, no pressure, right?
You're the last one, right.
Oh man.
So I'm like, oh snap! Does the sweat make a sound? Like,
Right. Right. Man. So she was really hands-on.
She's hands-on. She was right there next to me, and I came in and I had this crazy concept that I wanted to use, you know, on a song for her. I had saved it, you know, because sometimes I'm just concepting, and so I'll have an idea or a title. I'll put it in my phone, and I'm like, yo, that's special. I'm gonna set that apart for something special. And I was gonna do it that day. But the thing about the crazy concepts, it requires more storytelling to make the song, to make it make sense. So I'm like, yo, this is crazy if I can make it make sense, but at this point, I'm looking at the clock and it's taking me a minute, and I write in my phone. So I'm just like doing this. Nobody can hear what I'm doing, and everybody's waiting to hear what is this girl typing in this phone. Like I don't sing no melodies for people. It's all in my head.
Wow.
So yeah, so you don't hear nothing. They just in the room talking, and the pressure is on. So by the time I got in the vocal booth, I just got in there like, yo, I guess I got to do something, because now I feel like Mary looking at me. Like she give me one of them looks like, how long you gonna be here?
And that's
So
serious
I just
sweat.
went in, and the pressure be crazy. And
Oh my God, man.
thankfully
Wow.
she loved it. And we just connected from there. And I wrote several other records on the project from there.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
You got some amazing experiences. I'm telling
Thank
you.
you.
You've been writing since you were 10 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah, but you don't want to hear them songs.
Really? How did you actually gain the attention of the executives?
So once I got kicked out of my singing group for, you know, for
Oh, you've been
various
through that
reasons.
too,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, the chicks kept leaving every week. It was a new chick. It was like you know, one of them reality shows, like if somebody was voted off every week. And then once it all kind of fell apart, and that's when I told you that, you know, I was told that I wouldn't make it. And I started writing. I just was bouncing from studio to studio. Anybody that would let me in, I just write whatever, whether it was a chorus, whether it was a verse. And I was just learning and honing. And one producer told me in particular, he said, he's like, you're real dope, but what you should probably do is when you write, approach your records like a rapper. Like, you know, think of it from the standpoint of a hip hop artist but sing with your voice, but write like a rapper. And that changed the game for me. Like that changed my whole writing style, because I was like, okay, so I can sing it with all this soul and vocal that I have in me, but I can lyrically, I need to come at it like with the punchlines and with the, like, so that became this thing, like the first line of the record that you hear for me has to be the one that grabs you, that makes you want to listen to the rest of the song. So I just kind of carried that. And maybe that's how, you know, I grabbed the attention of like a Jermaine Dupri. Somebody told him about me and played a few of my records. And he wasn't sold initially though. He was like, she all right. You know, it took a minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Advice that you would give to writers that are out there. Part of our show is to inspire up and coming artists, writers, and all that. What would you say to someone who is looking to, you know, just get where you are?
First and foremost, I would tell them, know who you are before somebody else tries to tell you. Because they'll tell you.
Yeah, you ain't lying there, boy. Yeah.
They'll tell you, and if you don't know, you'll believe it.
Yeah.
And your belief is what empowers it. So you got to know that you know who you are and what you have in you. And you can take critique, healthy critique, because it'll help you grow. But they ain't out here passing out your gifting. So they can't tell you whether or not you got it or you don't.
Yeah.
All they can do is water whatever seed that's already there. You know what I'm saying? Don't reject the critique, don't reject the water. But if it's muddy, it ain't gonna help you. And so you gotta know who you are, what you have in you. And then I would also tell, because a lot of songwriters fall into the habit of writer's block. I don't subscribe to writer's block. I think that life is its own song, and my job is to pull the melody and the lyrics out of it. So if that is the case, there's never a reason for there to be a blockage. I dig into myself when I write. If I'm in the middle of a room and I don't want to be there, I'll probably write, I'd rather be anywhere else but here. That'll probably be my first line of the record, just because I'm always pulling from within when I can't find from what's around me. And I think that's where a lot of people fail. They're always looking for what's around as opposed to what's in there. So I write from my experiences. I grew up in domestic violence. I watched, well, not watched, but I was in the next room when my dad shot my mom 3 times. You know what I mean? I've had family members go, I held my mom's hand when she passed away from cancer a few years ago. I closed her eyes for her. You know what I mean? So I write from all those places. There ain't nothing outside of me that's more inspiring than what's within. And so I challenge writers to pull from what's within first. And then if you can take that and if you need to add to it, add to it.
That is huge.
That's kind of bars, huh? I dropped a few bars.
That
right
was big time. Big time.
Woo!
Wow.
I'm a whale. I'm a deep whale.
Man, Crystal, that was it. That's it right there.
Wow.
Y'all pulled it out of me.
Wow.
Man, we love it.
This is a great show. I really enjoyed myself. This is pretty awesome.
Man,
well, thank you.
We appreciate it. We're honored to have you. And thank you for accepting our invitation.
Anytime, yo. Anytime. I got to come back when I release my next project.
For sure. Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can follow you, social media platforms, and what's new. What's coming up new that we can look forward to?
Yes. So I got a single coming out in May. I'm not going to tell you the name of it yet because it's a secret. But new music in May and new project coming shortly after that. You can follow me on all my socials. It's the same thing. It's _Crystal Nicole, _Crystal Nicole. That's Instagram, that's Facebook, that's everywhere that I am. And I have a lot of music coming. There's a lot that I've been stockpiling over the years within me that I'm just gonna pour it all out.
We can't wait to hear it.
We can't wait.
We can have you back on to talk about it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Love you. Crystal Nicole.
Yeah.